Well, hello and welcome to our program tonight. It is so good to have you with us. Last week for our attendance report, we had 133 concurrent viewers and almost 1,200 non-concurrent viewers. A couple of days ago, I came up here. I usually try to do my talking parts the first part of the week. And I started trying, last week I had already taped the program when the debacle took place at the Capitol. And I normally don't speak on politics. And I try not to get into religious dogma too much because I don't want our chat room to become an argument place. This is where we come to get away from that. But sometimes God lays on my heart to speak about certain things. And I didn't realize this was going to happen, but as I was doing my intro, all of a sudden I just started talking about that and it turned into 7 minutes. And I'm going, well, that doesn't fit at the top of the program. I need to put that in a philosophizing section. So I'm back up here 2 days later redoing my front talking parts. But in our philosophizing tonight, I just want to have you think about some things. I know some of us are on different sides of the aisle. And trust me, all Republicans are not bad and all Democrats are not bad. Most of us are good people on both sides of the aisle. There's some terrible people on both sides of the aisle. Okay, I'm going to leave that alone for right now. I want to speak more about what happened at the Capitol in my philosophizing section. And I try to keep it as nonpartisan as I can because, as I will tell you in that clip, I'm more of a center guy. I believe we need a little bit of both. But nonetheless, we'll get to that in the philosophizing section. So I needed to redo this top part again so that it didn't turn into the shortest clip ever. But we just appreciate you being with us tonight. And I know you came to hear some music, so let's get to the musical portion of our program. For our first song tonight, I'm going to do you a song that was written by Carl Jackson and Jim Rushing. Carl Jackson did a lot of work in the bluegrass area. He was like the MVP for one of the bluegrass organizations in either 2005 or 6. And he wrote this wonderful song, Little Mountain Church, in 1990. The Nitty Gritty Dirt Band did a version of it. Ricky Skaggs did a version of it. And it was Song of the Year that year in the bluegrass world. Carl Jackson started out working with a duo called Jim and Jesse. Us older folks remember Jim and Jesse, but some of you younger ones may not. But after working with them for a while, he went to work with Glenn Campbell, and he worked with Glenn Campbell for about 12 years. But anyway, he did a lot of work with the Louvin Brothers and various bluegrass acts. But this is probably his strongest work and the one he's best known for. And I'm going to do my version of it for you tonight. It's called The Little Mountain Church.
There's a little mountain church in my thoughts of yesterday, where friends and family gathered for the Lord. There an old-fashioned preacher talked the straight and narrow way for what few coins the congregation could afford. Dressed in all our Sunday best, we sat on pews of solid oak, and I remember how our voices filled the air. Now Mama sounded like an angel on those high soprano notes. When the roll is called up yonder, I'll be there. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. singing, dinner on the ground. Many were the souls that were revived, while the brothers and the sisters who'd gone on to glory land slept in peace in the maple grove nearby. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. Looking back now, that little mountain church house has become my life's cornerstone. It was there in that little mountain church house I first heard the word to base my life upon. I first heard the word to base my life upon.
Right now I'm going to do you a song that was just one of my most requested songs back when I was figuring out which songs to put on albums and this sort of thing. This song just kept coming up, so I put it on my Turn Your Radio On CD. It was written by Bob Ferguson in 1958 and it was recorded in 1960 by Ferlin Husky. And the powers that be really didn't want him to do this song because it was a little too religious, they thought, for the time. Turned out Ferlin stood his ground and did the song anyway, and it became his last #1 song. So he had a small reward for standing his ground there, but it has just become one of the most popular. I mean, you can call it a gospel song, you can call it a country song, you can call it a pop song, whatever you want. It's just a very popular song. I get many views of this on my YouTube channel. But we're going to do our version for you tonight, On the Wings of a Dove.
On the wings of a snow-white dove, he sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above. On the wings of a dove, when troubles surround us, when evils come, the body grows weak, the spirit grows numb. When these things beset us, he doesn't forget us. He sends down his love on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow-white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, wings of a dove. When Noah had drifted on the flood many days, he searched for land in various ways. Troubles he had some, but wasn't forgotten. God sent down his love on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow-white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a dove. When Jesus went down the waters that day. He was baptized in the usual way. When it was done, God blessed his son. He sent down his love, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a snow white dove. He sends his pure, sweet love, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a dove, a sign from above, on the wings of a dove, on the wings of a dove.
Back when I had my commercial studio and I had people coming in and we were making CDs, you know, most of the work I did was gospel music, a little country here and there, but mostly gospel music. But a lady came in and she had all of her tracks. I mean, one way that I made a living was creating tracks for people. But she already had her tracks, and we got to this one song. And I started listening, and back then I was working so much between the studio and traveling and singing and you know, performing and what have you. I didn't really have time to keep up with all the new music that was happening, and I had never heard this song. But anyway, she gave me the track, and I started playing the track and going, wow. I mean, this thing was orchestrated. It was just masterfully done. I don't know who wrote the arrangement to this song, but it impressed me, you know, and I'm going, you know, and now and then I like a little challenge. So I said, I wonder if I can recreate, I wonder if I can create that, because I knew I didn't have an orchestra, and I sure didn't have the money to go buy one. And so I was going to have to do it by recreating certain sounds with synthesizer and all this kind of stuff. And I worked on this song for, I don't know, a month or two. But it finally started shaping up, and I thought, well, you know, maybe there's possibility here. And as of yet, as of the taping of this program tonight, I don't have this on an album, but it should be on album 7. But it's that great song that Paula Stefanovich wrote called Jerusalem.
John saw a city that could not be hid. John saw the city, oh yes he did. John caught a glimpse of the golden throne. Tell me all about it, go right on. Around the throne he saw a crystal sea. There's got to be more, what will it be? I want to go to that city he saw, New Jerusalem. Jerusalem, I want to walk your streets that are golden, and I want to run where the angels have trod. Jerusalem, I want to rest on the banks of your river, in that city, city of God. John saw the lion lay down by the lamb. I want to know everything about that land. John saw the day, but he did not see night. The Lamb of God, well, it must be the light. He saw the saints worship the great I Am, crying, worthy, worthy is the Lamb. I want to go to that city he saw, New Jerusalem. Jerusalem, I want to walk your streets that are golden, and I want to run where the angels have trod. Jerusalem, I want to rest on the banks of your river, in that city, city of God. Jerusalem, Jerusalem, sing, for the night is over. Streets that are golden, and I want to run where the angels have trod. Jerusalem, I want to rest on the banks of your river, in that city, city of God. God, Jerusalem, Jerusalem, city of God, it's the city of God.
You know, I always hesitate on this program to mention things that are going on because I don't want to start political conversations, and I don't want to start religious dogma arguing. You know, all of that is counterproductive because people, once they take a stance, they're not likely to move. So there's not going to be a winner to any of those conversations. But what I am going to ask you to do is pray for our country. I know we have people all around the world. I'm from the USA, North Carolina in particular. And we just need to pray for our country. Now, we've got to decide whether God's in control or he's not. This mess that's going on in our country is terrible. This is not the country I was raised in. Our country's in the worst shape I can remember it ever being in. You know, you can figure out who you want to blame or not blame. All I'm saying is this. if we're going to trust in God and we put our faith in God, we've got to pray, and then we've got to let the chips fall where they may. We can't go picking up guns every time something does please us. You know, the beauty of our system is that at the end of 4 years, we can decide if somebody did a good job and whether to rehire them or not. We don't have a king. We don't have a monarch. We don't have a dictator. We don't have a Führer. We don't have an emperor. We have a president. And they are hired by us. And we determine that at the ballot box. Now, we either have to trust the ballot box or we don't. And if we don't, then we're going to have a revolution every 4 years. And the next time, it might not be the guy that you want to take over that takes over. But if he becomes if we install a dictator in our country, you ain't going to be happy about that. I don't care who it is, because your children will then have to bear the consequences of the next one's going to get worse, and the next one's going to get worse, and the next one's going to get worse. Okay. I'm sorry if I seem a little upset, but I'm 76 years old. I've never seen anything like this in our country. I'm not used to somebody trying to take over the Capitol. I'm not used to that. That does not happen because you're not happy with the outcome of an election. I'm not taking sides here. I'm not taking either side. You know, there was a lot of people that wasn't happy 4 years ago. There's a lot of people that's not happy now. But that's the way it works. Or we can have a revolution every 4 years. Now, which do you want? It's not going to get better. It's going to get worse if we don't stop this right now. So here's the point I'm trying to make. And I'm not partial to whichever side you're from. I'm okay with you. But I think we need a good two-party system in this country. I personally am what you might call a centrist. I believe we should have regulated capitalism with some social programs that are like a safety net. There's room for both of those in our country. But the lies from the propaganda parts of each party has gotten so out of hand, people are hating people on the other side for things that isn't even true. You know, if you dislike your neighbor because somebody lied and told you they were something they weren't, you're basing it on the wrong. Am I making any sense? Forgive me for this little rant, but what I'm trying to do, I so just wish we could come together and sit down and talk about this. You know, there's evil on both parties. There's good in both parties. You know, one side is not the devil incarnate, and the other side angels. Neither side. So my point being this, we as Christians, or whatever faith you are, we've got to trust that God's in control. He knows what he's doing. You know, when we wind up, whoever we wind up with, God put him on the throne. The Bible tells us that. He's in control of what's going on in the world, you know. Now, we don't understand it a lot of times. We don't have to understand it. We just have to accept, you know, let's see if I can paraphrase this. I don't have my Bible in front of me. But in the Bible it says something to the fact that all things work together for good for those that love the Lord and are called according to his purpose. So we either believe that or we don't. You know? So all I'm trying to say is, why can't we just love each other? And it's okay with me if you're a Democrat. It's okay with me if you're a Republican. It's okay with me if you're a Muslim. It's okay with me if you're a Christian. It's okay. You know, you got to figure this out for yourself. I can't tell you what to be or who to be. All I'm trying to say is if we can just get along a little bit, we don't have to have this bloodshed. You know? And so forgive me for going on like this, but I'm not taking either side. Please don't think I'm pointing to either side. I'm just saying both sides. You know, people going, we got to take our country back. Well, what makes it your country? It's my country too. You know, it is not your country, whichever faction you're thinking owns it. It is our country. So we best figure out how to get along. Unless everybody wants to start carrying AR-15. I don't think I want that, you know? Oh, forgive me. When I saw what I saw the other day, I could not believe it was happening. I could not believe what I was seeing. In America. Anyway, let's pray for God to heal our land, heal our world, heal the globe, you know? Maybe that's what all of this stuff has been about, is so we finally get back to talking to God. I sit and I ponder a lot of stuff, and I try to figure out why all this stuff is happening and what's going on. Maybe it's just to draw us closer. Maybe it's to make us realize at some point we got to talk to each other. We got to love each other. We got to care about each other. But anyway, enough of that. Let's do some music. This next song I'm going to do tonight is from my How Beautiful Heaven Must Be CD. This song was written, or actually it was published in 1949. It started being written in 1945. But a fellow named Ira Stanfill was in a meeting in Dallas, Texas one night. It was an evangelical meeting, and a businessman got up to speak. And he told this story. He said his business was not doing well, and he was kind of depressed one afternoon, so he decided to get in his car and take a ride. So he goes on this ride, and he kept getting further and further off the beaten track, and he got out on this little dirt road, and he comes upon this little girl standing in front of this house that wasn't much, and she had a little doll in her hand. It was kind of tattered, but she seemed okay with it all. She seemed quite happy, and he just had to stop and ask her, said, "Sweetie, how can you be so happy when you live like this?" You know, here he was feeling a little bit depressed because his business wasn't doing so well, though he was a successful businessman, so he had plenty. But she said, "'Cause my daddy just came into some money, and one day he said he's going to build us a house over that hill right there." And Ira said he went away from the meeting that night just so impressed by that story, because the man went on to tell how, you know, he put his faith back in God, and he quit worrying about the business, and obviously he probably worked toward getting it back on track, but nonetheless he became successful again. So Ira wrote this song to help us have faith in our Father that He's going to take care of business. As long as we take care of our end of the business, He'll take care of His end of the business. Now, He doesn't want to do it all. He wants you and I to do some too. So we have to be responsible. We have to make good decisions. We have to not do stupid stuff. He gave us common sense so we don't do stupid stuff. But anyway, Ira wrote this great song. Like I said, he started writing it in 1945, but it was published in 1949. It's called "I've Got a Mansion Just Over the Hilltop."
I'm satisfied with just a cottage below, a little silver and a little gold. But in that city where the ransomed will shine, I want a gold one, that silver line. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we will never more wander, but walk the streets that are purest gold. Though often tempted, tormented and tested, and like the prophet, my pillow was stone, And though I find here no permanent dwelling, I know He'll give me a mansion my own. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we will never more wander, but walk the streets that are purest gold. Deserted or lonely, I'm not discouraged, I'm heaven bound. I'm just a pilgrim in search of a city. I want a mansion, a harp and a crown. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we will never more wander, but walk the streets that are purest gold. I've got a mansion just over the hilltop, in that bright land where we'll never grow old. And someday yonder we will never more wander, but walk the streets that are purest gold.
This next song was written by a married couple, Blanche and Virgil Brock. Virgil was ordained to preach when he was 19, and he was a pastor of several Quaker churches in his early years, but he became an evangelist toward the end of his life, and he wrote words and his wife wrote the music to things. They wrote some 500 songs. And he wrote this beautiful song and used it in a lot of his evangelistic campaigns and everything. And even at 91, when he passed away at 91, people were still calling him to come and do programs. But he wrote this great old song called Beyond the Sunset. And I was playing one of my Walmart jobs one day, and always looking for music for the next album. And a fella came up and he says, "Do you do Beyond the Sunset?" I said, "No, I remember the song. It's a beautiful song." He said, "Man, I'd love to hear you do a version of that." So I went home, looked it up, and found the words and everything, and it made it on my next album. But anyway, we're going to do it for you tonight, and we're going to calm things down a little bit. It's that beautiful song called Beyond the Sunset.
Beyond the sunset, oh blissful morning, when with our Savior heaven is begun. Earth's toiling ended, oh glorious dawning. Beyond the sunset, when day is done. Beyond the sunset, no clouds will gather, no storms will threaten, no fears annoy. O day of gladness, O day unending, beyond beyond the sunset, eternal joy. Beyond the sunset, a hand will guide me to God the Father, whom I adore. His glorious presence, His words of welcome will be my portion on that fair shore. Beyond the sunset, oh glad reunion with our dear loved ones who've gone before. In that fair homeland, we'll know no parting. Beyond the sunset, forevermore. Beyond the sunset, forevermore.
This next song I'm going to do for you tonight comes from my Turn Your Radio On album. It was written by a fellow named Luther G. Presley somewhere around the turn of the 20th century, the early 1900s. Been in several hymnals. The Cathedrals did a version, the Hoppers did a version, the Lefevres did a version. Gold City did a version of it. The Inspirations did a version of it. Several people have done this song. And somebody came into my studio and recorded this right about the time I was looking for songs for that third album. And I just love the song. I don't know that I grew up singing it. I just heard it and became familiar with it while we were working on it for her album. But anyway, I'm going to do my version of it for you tonight. And it's called, I'm Getting Ready to Leave This World.
Laying up my treasures in that home above, rusting, fully trusting in the Savior's love, doing what I can for heaven's holy dove. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready for the gates of hell, keeping my record right, watching both day and night. I'm getting ready to leave this world, to prepare a mansion. Jesus said I'll go. If it were not true, I would have told you so. Just a little while to linger here below. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready for the gates of pearl, keeping my record right, watching both day and night. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready for the gates of pearl, keeping my record right, watching both day and night. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm packing up, getting ready to go, 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 I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready for the gates of pearl, keeping my record right, watching both day and night. I'm getting ready to leave this world. I'm getting ready to leave this world.
For those of you who enjoy these great old gospel songs, I've put together a complete collection of all 6 of my gospel albums on 3 CDs. Most of the songs we'll be doing on the Friday Night Sing-Along are contained in this collection. There are 2 complete albums on each CD, and this collection also contains a book with the words and the chord changes I use to play each of the 62 songs. Perfect for those that like to sing and play along. Just go to our website, www.birdyeomans.com, and click the My Music Store tab, and this special offer will be at the top of the page. You can also email us directly if you prefer, and that address is linda@birdyeomans.com. You'll also find my individual CDs as well as DVDs of the Friday Night Sing-Along episodes. Now let's get back to some of that great old-time gospel music. For our last song tonight, I'm going to do you a song that was written by Cleavon Derricks. I put this song on my 3rd CD, Turn Your Radio On, because I had been getting some requests for it, but also because I thought it would make a nice little quartet-type song. But this song was published in over 30 hymnals. It was a huge hit for quartets in the 40s, 50s, 60s, along that era. Of course, people are still doing the song. I mean, Brenda Lee did a version of the song. Willie Nelson did a version of the song. George Jones did a version of the song. Brad Paisley did a version. Andy Griffith did a version. The Gaithers did a version. Oh my, the list just goes on and on and on. And obviously I did a version because we're going to do that for you tonight. It's that great old song by Cleavon Derricks called Just a Little Talk with Jesus.
I once was lost in sin, but Jesus took me in, and then a little light from heaven filled my soul. It bathed my heart in love and wrote my name above, and just a little talk with Jesus made me whole. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our trouble. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel a little prayer will turn, you will know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Sometimes my path seems drear without a ray of cheer, and then a cloud of doubt may hide the light of day. The mist of sin may rise and hide the starry skies, but just a little talk with Jesus clears the way. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our trouble. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel a little prayer will turn, you will know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. I may have doubts and fears, my eyes be filled with tears, but Jesus is a friend who watches day and night. I go to him in prayer, he knows my every care, and just a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our trouble. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. Feel a little prayer will turn, you will know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Now let us have a little talk with Jesus. Let us tell him all about our trouble. He will hear our faintest cry. He will answer by and by. When you feel a little prayer will turn, you will know a little fire is burning. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. Yes, you will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right. You will find a little talk with Jesus makes it right.
Thank you so much for being with us. I always appreciate the fact that you're willing to take time out of your busy week to come and be with us and enjoy our chat room. And it's always it's gotten to the point now after a year we come in looking for each other. You know, is so and so here yet? Have you heard from so and so or whatever? So that just it always makes me feel good when I see that, because we don't even know each other and we've become friends. Isn't that wonderful about the internet? That is just I love it. I'm glad I lived long enough to see. The internet can be one of the most evil places you've ever been, but it can be one of the greatest places you've ever been. But that's kind of the way life is. You have to learn to discern the good from the bad, and I just appreciate you showing up and being with us on Friday nights. If you're interested in any of our CDs or the book, go by the website, www.birdyeomans.com, and any questions you might have, Linda will be glad to help you with that. Her email address is linda@birdyeomans.com. Be kind to each other this week. I love you. I'll see you next Friday night.